I still remember the first time I spoke in front of a group in English. I had prepared everything. I knew what I wanted to say. I had even practiced in my bathroom mirror the night before. But the moment I opened my mouth, nothing came out the way I planned. My voice was shaking. My words came out wrong. And the worst part? Everyone was looking at me, waiting. And I just wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole.
Oh, I know that feeling so well. It's like your brain just disappears in that moment. Everything you studied, everything you practiced, gone. And the silence feels so loud.
Exactly. And here's the thing. That moment didn't happen because my English was bad. It happened because I was scared. I was scared of sounding wrong, of being judged, of making a mistake in front of people. And I think a lot of English learners go through exactly this. Am I right?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Not just how to speak more clearly, but how to feel more comfortable doing it. Because those two things are connected in a way that most people don't really talk about.
So let's be honest. A lot of English learners, especially at the A2 or B1 level, actually know more than they think they do. They can read English, they understand movies, they follow conversations. But when it's their turn to speak, something changes.
It's like a wall goes up. And I think the wall isn't made of grammar rules. It's made of fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of speaking too slowly. Fear of forgetting a word in the middle of a sentence and not knowing what to do next.
And the tricky part is, the more you fear it, the harder it becomes. Because your body tenses up, your breathing gets shallow. You start rushing your words to get it over with faster. And then, of course, people ask you to repeat yourself, and that makes everything feel even worse.
I had a student, I'll call her Pamela. She had been studying English for 7 years. 7 years. Her grammar was really solid. She could write long emails no problem. But in a conversation, she would get so anxious that she'd almost whisper. And people would lean in, trying to hear her. And that made her even more self-conscious.
That's such a specific example. And I think so many people listening right now can relate to Pamela. Because it's not about knowledge. It's about the gap between what you know and what you feel safe expressing out loud.
So, what are the things people actually struggle with? Because I think it's worth naming them clearly. The first one I hear all the time is, I don't know how to start. Like, even beginning a sentence feels like climbing a wall.
Yes. And there's also the speed problem. Some learners speak really fast because they're nervous and they just want to finish. Others speak really slowly because they're searching for the right word, and they feel embarrassed about that pause. But here's what's interesting. Both of those issues come from the same root. The belief that any imperfection is a failure.
Oh, that's a really important point. Because native speakers also pause. Native speakers also say and you know what I mean? They use these little fillers all the time without even noticing. But when a learner does it, they feel like they've done something wrong.
Right. And another big struggle, pronunciation anxiety. I've spoken to learners who are so focused on, do I sound native? That they actually forget what they were trying to say. Like, they're in their own head, checking every syllable, monitoring every sound, and the actual communication just falls apart.
And there's a social piece to this too. Speaking clearly doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It happens in front of people, at work, in class, with a new friend, in a shop, on a phone call. And each of those situations has a different kind of pressure. A job interview feels completely different from chatting with a neighbor.
So there's not one struggle. There are layers. And I think that's actually encouraging in a way, because if you know what the specific layer is, you can work on it. You're not just fighting some vague, giant monster called bad English. You're dealing with something real and specific.
So let's talk about what actually helps. And I want to start with something that sounds almost too simple. Slowing down on purpose. Not because you don't know the words, but because you're giving yourself and your listener time to follow the thought.
That's a big one. I used to think that speaking faster meant sounding more fluent, but actually, the clearest speakers I've ever met, in any language, take their time. They don't rush, and you don't feel like they're struggling. You feel like they know exactly what they're saying.
Exactly. And connected to that, learning to pause. Not awkward silence, but intentional pausing. When you finish a thought, you don't have to immediately rush into the next one. A pause says, I'm thinking. I'm in control. I know where I'm going. It actually makes you sound more confident, not less.
I started doing something when I was learning. I called it anchor phrases. So instead of going blank when I forgot a word, I had a few go-to phrases ready. Things like, what I mean is, or let me put it this way, or even just, so basically. These little bridges gave me a second to breathe and find the word I needed.
I love that. Because those phrases also signal to the listener that you're not finished, you're still talking. And psychologically, it removes that panic of the blank moment. You're not frozen, you're just building.
And then there's something I feel people underestimate, the voice itself. Not accent, not grammar, the actual physical voice. A lot of learners speak at the back of their throat, very quietly, very tight. And when you do that, your voice sounds uncertain, even if your words are perfect.
So, what did you do about that?
Honestly, I started reading out loud. Not to practice English grammar, just to get used to hearing my own voice. I'd read a paragraph from a book, from a news article, even from a recipe, anything. At first, it felt strange, but slowly I started feeling more at home with the sound of my own voice in English, and that changes everything.
That's actually a really underrated practice. And I'd add something to it. Not just reading out loud, but reading with intention. Like, imagine you're telling a story to a child. You vary your tone. You go slower on the important words. You pause for effect. That kind of expressive practice trains your voice in a way that flat, quiet reading never will.
There's also the question of what you do before a high-pressure conversation. Like, if you know you have a meeting in English, or a presentation, or a phone call you're nervous about. What do you do to prepare? And I think most people try to memorize scripts, which kind of works, but also kind of doesn't.
Because real conversations don't follow scripts, right? The other person says something unexpected, and suddenly your whole prepared speech is useless. So, what I think works better is rehearsing thoughts, not sentences. Know the key points you want to make. Know 3 or 4 words you'll definitely use. But let the actual sentences form in the moment. That's more natural, and it keeps you flexible.
And here's something I want to say to anyone listening who feels like they keep making the same mistakes, like they can't stop saying a word wrong, or their sentences always come out jumbled. That feeling of, I've been trying for so long and nothing is changing. It's really discouraging. But improvement in speaking is rarely linear. It's more like quiet progress that suddenly becomes visible.
Yes, there's this concept. I don't remember where I first heard it. But the idea is that learning often happens underground, like roots growing. You can't see it. You feel like nothing is happening. And then one day, you're in a conversation and you just respond. Naturally, without thinking. And you realize that all that quiet practice was building something the whole time.
That's such a patient and honest way to look at it. And I think that kind of patience, with yourself, with the process, is actually a speaking skill too. Because when you're not punishing yourself for every mistake, you relax. And when you relax, your voice opens up. Your words come more easily. Your sentences become more natural. Confidence and clarity feed each other.
Okay, we have a small challenge for you this week. Just one thing. That's it.
Record yourself speaking English for 2 minutes. It doesn't matter what you talk about. You can describe your day. You can explain a recipe. You can just think out loud about something you saw recently. Don't edit it. Don't stop and start over. Just speak for 2 minutes and then listen back.
Not to judge yourself, but to notice. Notice where your voice is strong. Notice where it gets quiet. Notice the moments where you felt comfortable. Those moments are real. They're yours. And next week, record again.
And if you want to go a little further, share that recording with someone you trust. Not for criticism, just for the act of being heard. Because speaking isn't really speaking until someone else is listening.
You can even drop a comment below. Tell us what you talked about in your recording. Even writing, "I talked about my morning routine" in the comments is a way of making this real, of holding yourself to it. All right, let's do a quick recap of what we talked about today.
Speaking anxiety isn't about lack of knowledge. It's often about fear of judgment and the pressure to sound perfect.
Common struggles include rushing words, forgetting mid-sentence, pronunciation anxiety, and feeling pressure in different social situations.
Slowing down and pausing intentionally signals confidence, not confusion.
Anchor phrases like, "What I mean is," give you breathing room when you lose a word.
Reading aloud daily, with expression and variation, builds a relationship with your own voice.
Rehearsing thoughts, not scripts, keeps you flexible and natural in real conversations.
Progress in speaking isn't always visible. It builds quietly, and then it surfaces.
And self-compassion isn't a soft extra. It's a real part of learning to speak well.
Now let's go through 10 words from today's episode. These are all intermediate level words, perfect for A2 to B1 learners. We'll give you the meaning, an example sentence, and a speaking practice question for each one.
Try saying the practice questions out loud. That's the whole point.
Word number 1. Anxious. Adjective. It means feeling worried or nervous about something that might happen. Example sentence. She felt anxious before her job interview in English. Practice question. Tell me about a time you felt anxious about speaking in English. What happened? Word number 2. Self-conscious. Adjective. It means being too aware of yourself, worried about how you look or sound to others. Example. He became self-conscious when people asked him to repeat himself. Practice question. When do you feel most self-conscious in English? Is it on the phone, in a group, or somewhere else? Word number 3. Fluent. Adjective. Able to speak a language easily and naturally without stopping a lot. Example. She isn't perfectly fluent yet, but her conversations are natural and clear. Practice question. Do you think you need to be fluent to have a good conversation? Why or why not? Word number 4. Intentional. Adjective. Done on purpose, with a clear plan or reason. Example. He took an intentional pause before answering so he could think clearly. Practice question. What is one intentional thing you do to improve your English every week? Word number 5. Rehearse. Verb. To practice something, usually a speech or conversation, before the real moment. Example. She rehearsed her presentation 3 times before the meeting. Practice question. How do you usually rehearse for an important English conversation or task? Word number 6. Flexible. Adjective. Able to change or adapt easily when something unexpected happens. Example. Good speakers are flexible. They don't panic when the conversation changes direction. Practice question. Can you describe a situation where you had to be flexible in English? Word number 7. Imperfection. Noun. A small mistake or flaw, something that is not perfect. Example, she used to hate her imperfections, but now she sees them as part of her learning journey. Practice question. What imperfection in your English are you most accepting of now, compared to before? Word number 8. Clarity. Noun. The quality of being clear and easy to understand. Example, speaking with clarity doesn't mean speaking fast, it means speaking in a way others can follow. Practice question. What do you think is more important, clarity or speed? Why? Word number 9. Linear. Adjective. Moving in a straight line, developing step by step in an obvious way, often used to describe progress. Example, learning a language is not linear. Some days feel great, and other days feel like you've forgotten everything. Practice question. Have you ever felt like your English progress was not linear? What did that feel like? And word number 10. Compassion. Noun. A feeling of kindness and understanding towards someone who is struggling, including yourself. Example, she learned to speak with more compassion toward herself when she made mistakes. Practice question. Is it easy or difficult for you to have compassion for yourself when you make English mistakes? What helps?
So, before we wrap up, I want to say something that I genuinely believe. The people who speak English most confidently are not always the ones with the best grammar. They're the ones who have made peace with the process. They've accepted that they'll sometimes say the wrong word, and they keep going anyway.
That's exactly it. And confidence isn't something you have before you speak. It's something you build by speaking. Every conversation, even the awkward ones, especially the awkward ones, is quietly making you better.
Remember Pamela, the student who used to whisper? I spoke with her recently. She called me, on the phone, in English, to tell me about a presentation she'd just given at work. She said it wasn't perfect. She said she stumbled once or twice. But she finished it. She stood there and she said what she wanted to say. And people listened.
That right there, that's what it's really about. Not a perfect accent, not flawless sentences, just being heard, just being understood, and getting a little more comfortable in your own voice, in a language that maybe doesn't feel like yours yet, but slowly, bit by bit, it becomes yours.
Wherever you are in that process, whether you're still very nervous or whether you're starting to find your footing, you're doing something that takes real courage. Learning to speak in another language is hard. And the fact that you're here, listening, thinking about how to get better, that already says something about you.
Keep going, slowly if you need to, quietly if that's where you are right now, but keep going.
If this conversation felt useful, if it made you think about your own journey with English, please subscribe to the channel.
Every week, we bring you honest, human conversations about English and the real life around it. No perfect grammar, no robotic lessons. Just two people talking about things that matter to learners like you.
We'd love to have you with us. See you next video.
Take care, everyone.